Hello and welcome to the third of the Harley's workshop videos, and today, as you can see, I've donned a thick jumper due to the unseasonably cold weather outside. And today, just a little difference from the normal Harley's workshop, which is normally about tools and something. I'll be taking you through some of my favourite racing cars in my toy car collection. For those of you that don't know, my animations that I've done before these videos, the very first one that I did included a lot of these Dinkies, mostly these ones. I don't think it included any of these, and I think that's the only animation they've been. But today I'll just be taking you through and explaining a bit about Dinky, and explaining a little bit about how I got these, why I like them, and basically that. So I hope you enjoy this video. So the first toy car is the number 23G Cooper Bristol, and as you can see, the number 23G is a reference number stamped underneath the car, which means that whenever you've got two numbers and a letter on these Dinky cars, it means that it's the earliest version of the castings, and I tend to prefer the earlier ones due to, of course, their age and stuff. So I think this one came from this one came from a local antique centre and purchased for, I think, about 15 or 16 quid, which I was quite happy about, I will admit. I think it's got replacement tyres, and I think all of these have replacement tyres. Maybe not the Maserati, but all of, well, these cars, including these 6 cars, are from the 23 series, which was, of course, as I said, 1950s series, which I think, well, it is the sort of peak of Dinky production, as these are, I'm not quite sure as to whether the 2-speed of the winds are in the 23 series, and well, I think that maybe they shouldn't be. If they are in it, then they maybe shouldn't be, because so far the 23 series has been sort of single-seater races, but these are 2 land speed records that would have been driven by George Easton. And then you've got the Auto Union here, which isn't in the 23 series, but it's made in the 50s by Dinky Toys, as all of these are, and I thought I would include it in the video, so I'll carry on with the Cooper Bristol. So yes, it's got all the information on the bottom, made in England, Meccano. So yeah, I just quite like it. It's got quite a chipped head, but as you can see on the ones with exposed heads, you can see that a lot of the paint has gone off the heads of the drivers, probably due to a few accidents that have been raced across schoolyards or something. So I'll go into one of my favourites out of the 23J, not 23, the 23 series, I should say. So this is the later one, as you can tell, the Talbot Legos. As you can see, it's got the 230 number stamped on the bottom. So it's the later variation of the model. I think this one was also purchased at the same visit as I bought this. I think it was the Alfa Romeo, basically these 3, the Cooper Bristol, Alfa Romeo and Talbot Lego, I purchased all at once at a local antique centre. That's where a lot of these came from. I really love this one because I think the colour and the shape of the car is just one of my favourite shapes of 50s races or something. As you can see, it's the later one, which I don't really mind because I think it makes up for it with its charm. As you can see, it's got replacement tyres, but I don't mind if they have replacement tyres, because you can't blame them if they're, 70 years old. So I'll move on to the Ferrari. Actually, there's a way of distinguishing if this is an early one or a later one without even looking at the bottom, but I'll just show you anyway. So there's 23H, which means it's an early one, but the main obvious reason, well not a reason, but there's a big difference between the early ones like this one and the later ones. Is the early ones have got this solid band at the front, but the later ones have a sort of diamondy shaped band, and funnily enough, the earlier ones are actually a lot more common than the later ones. The later ones were the diamond nose ones, because I'm pretty sure that the late diamond nose ones were only produced for a year, which of course makes them a lot scarce. than this, but I still like it. A bit of an odd colour choice. I've always associated Ferrari with red. I think this is, yes, in the colour of Argentinian colours for some reason. This is definitely my favourite of the selection of 23 series cars I have here. It's the Alfa Romeo, stamped 23F, meaning that it's the early one. I think most of these are the earlier ones, which of course, in my opinion, makes them a bit nicer, but I'm not too fussed really whether they're an early or late one. I purchased most of these, or got given most of these when I was in the early days of collecting, you could say, a couple of years ago. Because they're fairly sort of reasonably priced, you could say. Apart from this one, because it's sort of near mint, there's only a little bit of paint loss there and a little bit of the back, and of course it's all gone at the driver's head, to the top of the head, which makes me think it might have had a bit of a roll on a schoolyard or something. But I think I purchased this for just over £30, and it's well worth it. Just look at the condition of it. Probably not, no, they're not original tyres, but I'm not fussed about that really. And I love the colour of it, and the Alpha, I think it's the 159 Alfetta, I'm pretty sure, is one of my favourite sort of 30s or 50s racing cars of the period. So I'll move on to the HWM. This came out of my dad's collection. It's the early one, 23J, which means it's pre-1954. But I very much doubt it in the 40s. I don't think any of these are 40s. Just a bit off topic, but these were reissues, as all these were new castings. So what I mean by that is these two were produced before the war and post of World War II. But these ones are both, sadly, post-war ones. The big sort of selling points that you can tell when there's a pre-war is normally white tyres with any old Dinky. So back onto the current toy, HWM. So it's got all the things going on underneath. I really like the sort of colouring of the bases and the writing. I just think it works really well together. This one is in not too good nick, but being an early one, it's higher valued by collectors, and it's probably of limited availability. I just wanted one to complete the set. Now this Maserati is a bit of an unusual one, because it's one of the latest ones. As you can see, I can only just make out a 2-3. There should be another number behind that for, of course, 2-3 representing the 23 series. But as you can see, it's got plastic, I don't know what to call them actually, not, well, sort of wheel rims, I suppose. Which means that it's, of course, one of the latest ones. It's probably late 50s, I don't really know. Maybe 60s, I don't really know about. I think this came from one of my dad's boxes in the cellar. As I said, this is one of the latest ones, which makes it a bit more unusual. It's not actually in that good nick, but I'd sadly discovered that the Maseratis tend to be valued quite high. So at the moment there are just none around, so I couldn't find them. So Dad came to my rescue with this one. So now moving on to, I'm not quite sure what, this isn't 23 series, but it's certainly, I think it's definitely represents the golden age of motor racing. Strangely, the Dinky version was actually modelled on the Auto Union Streamlined, as the most common Auto Unions wouldn't have any of this sort of coverings over the tyres, but it's like the Land Speed Record Auto Union. I really like this. It's got a few unusual scratches on the base. And also these were made pre-war too, and the biggest difference is that I think with the pre-war ones they don't have a base, and also they have a little driver in there, the pre-war ones. So yeah, I wouldn't mind getting hold of a pre-war one, but I haven't got one yet. So now moving on to the last two, and these two Speed of the Winds, and one of them's actually missing its base. So it's don't worry, it's not a pre-war one, don't get too excited. It's got one mismatched tyre on it, and it's just, I wanted one because it was early days of collecting them, just to sort of get a few in my collection. This one's a lot rarer because it's red, as a lot of them were in silver, which are quite common. They tend to go from around 12 to 15 if you want an average condition one. But this one probably goes, I think I bought it for like 28 or something. So these are just some of my favourites out of the Dinkies, just to make sure I don't just collect Dinkies. I used to, but now I'm sort of getting into this more highly sought after tin plate stuff, not just racing cars. So I've got lots of other like commercial vehicles, lorries, tankers, which may feature and probably will feature in another video, but I just thought I'd show you some of the nicest die-cast ones. So please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.